Hello, I'm Dr. Kathy Forti. I'm here today to talk with you about Trinfinity 8 and how it came to be developed. It all happened back in 2003. I was clinically practicing. I had a psychology practice at the time. I am a clinical psychologist. And I was leaving work one day when I suddenly felt like something had been physically removed from my body. Now, that was quite an unusual feeling. It was like night and day, and immediately I looked inside and said, "Are you depressed about anything? What is this?" And I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel concerned about anything, but I felt like I was done with my work here. And this vast emptiness inside. And I thought, well, what if I live another 20 years feeling this way? This is not going to feel very good. Well, that night I went home and I was sitting up in bed and I was wide awake and I was pondering this feeling of emptiness and where it had come from and not understanding what it was all about and what I was going to do about it. And just as I was pondering that, suddenly I saw this swirling vortex in my head. And I was just drawn into it, and I was just, immediate next thing I do, I felt like my whole self was sucked into this vortex. And the next thing I knew, I was in this tunnel. And I was traveling at a high rate of speed, horizontal, in the strangest position, horizontal, feet first, traveling, very fast, and I could see that there was light at the end of this tunnel. And of course, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the tunnel. This is the tunnel everybody's been talking about. I've made it into the tunnel. And with that, I thought, oh my gosh, did I die? What did I die of? We always think we have to die of something. And I hadn't been sick, the thought, maybe this emptiness, maybe that had something to do with it. But, immediately I just let go of it and I thought, well, okay, well, if I die, there's nothing I can do about it now. Just keep going forward and see what it's all about. And, I'd heard enough stories about going into the light that, I was intrigued. This is the great adventure. We're going to see what it's all about. And I didn't have any fear. It felt like the right thing to do. So I was with it. And so I kept moving through this tunnel, and then all of a sudden, before I could get into the light, I was stopped. I was stopped dead in the tunnel. Excuse the pun, didn't mean to. I was stopped dead in the tunnel, and I was just hovering there. And, I tried to make myself go forward, but nothing was helping. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't go forward. And I remember thinking, well, this is boring. Why can't I go forward? What do I need to do? And with that thought, all of a sudden, all this energy just poured into me, infused into every cell in my system. And it felt like I was oscillating. To this day, it's still hard to explain what that felt like because it was kind of beyond words. Now I understand when people have had other experiences before how they grasp at words and there's nothing that really can explain it. And with that feeling infused into me, it's like a great surge of power. I was spun around with great intentional force. Okay, next move, let's get her back through that tunnel. And I was propelled back through that tunnel as fast as could be, the same way, horizontal, feet first. And there was voices in my head saying, "Breathe, Kathy, breathe." And next thing I knew, I was back in my physical body, wide awake still, but my whole left side was paralyzed. And I knew in that moment that my heart had stopped, and whoever this was, because I was alone in the room, whoever this was that was speaking to me, had just jump-started my heart and was trying to get me to breathe back into my physical body. And there was this pressure in my chest besides the fact that I couldn't feel my left side of my body. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I can't move. There's nobody here to help me. And the voices were just telling me, don't worry about it. Everything will be okay. Just relax, breathe easy. And within a while, it just subsided. And I could reconnect with my whole physical body again, but there was this slight pressure in my chest. And I remember thinking, oh, now I'm going to have to go see a cardiologist. And the voice is pretty much telling me, don't worry about it, you won't have to see a doctor, everything's okay. So within a day, that feeling, that pressure abated, it was gone, but within that 24 hours, then I became obsessed with quantum physics. I was getting up in the middle of the night, always between 3 and 4 a.m., and having to get on the internet and research everything from scalar potentials to quarks and energy systems that I'd never heard of before. And it felt like something was getting me up to speed on this. And the interesting thing was that I was actually understanding a lot of what I was reading. And this was going on for night after night. And I started to think, okay, well, something is definitely wrong here. This is not my usual, mode. So I called a friend of mine who is a very gifted intuitive and had helped me on very difficult cases in the past. When, with the client's permission, we could go behind the scenes and see if there was anything going on that they were not consciously aware of to help alleviate the situation. And he was always very good about this because all he needed was a person's name so I could get a really clean read. He didn't need to know anything about them. So I just called him and I said, Gene, I need you to take a look and see what's going on behind the scenes with me. And so he did, and he said, wow, Kathy, he said, you almost died. He said, but all your old guides left. And he says, you've got a whole new set of guides. They're very scientific, kind of geeky. And immediately I said, well, what do they want? So I realized that this feeling of emptiness was my old guidance leaving, and I'd never read anything about that feeling that could be such a part of you, that you'd feel this emptiness. Well, anyway, when I asked him what do they want, he said, well, they're showing me pictures, and he said, they want you to invent this healing device that will change the way people think about healing. And he said, it's some type of electronics, some type of medical thing. And I laughed and I said, well, I don't know anything about inventing. I don't know anything about electronics. And he said, no, they're showing me. They will give you that information. They will lead you to the people that will be helpful and instrumental in making this come into being. And so I kind of laughed and thought, well, he's finally wrong. His accuracy had been pretty good up until that time, but I certainly could not see myself doing this. Well, that was 2003. I could not let go of it, or the guidance that was now working with me would not let me let go of this thought. So suddenly I was still investigating every type of energy device out there and trying to understand that. And at first I thought, well, am I supposed to work with other people, other inventors on this? And the minute I tried to do that, I would come across all these roadblocks and obstacles. And so I wasn't sure what, I was supposed to be doing. And then finally I just said, well, I give up. I really don't know. And basically what came through was that I was supposed to be doing this myself. So with that acceptance, suddenly all this information started downloading. And by downloading, I mean I was getting in pictures, I was getting in streams of data, I was getting thought impressions, and basically what they were telling me was that math was the language of the universe, and that everything was mathematically coded. Even man's DNA was encoded. Even the uncoded DNA, which we think is junk DNA, was coded. That man's DNA was, in essence, perfect, and that we would come to discover that, but it needed to be awakened. It was evolving.